Hello, welcome to Azure Active Directory session. In this session, we will talk about what is Azure Active Directory, who uses Azure Active Directory, what are the Azure Active Directory licenses, what is the Azure Active Directory architecture, how to create a new directory in Azure Active Directory, and once we create a directory, how to create users, groups, and how to assign the roles, how to enable multi-factor authentication, and how to view sign-ins for the users. We can check all this in Azure Active Directory. Let's start with what is Azure Active Directory. Azure Active Directory is Microsoft's cloud-based identity and access management service, which helps your employees sign in and access resources in. External resources such as Microsoft Office 365, the Azure portal, and thousands of other SaaS applications. SaaS means software as service application. Internal resources such as apps on your corporate network and intranet, along with any cloud apps developed by your own organization. Who uses Azure Active Directory? Azure Active Directory is intended for IT admins, app developers, Microsoft 365, Office 365, Azure, or Dynamic CRM online subscribers. IT admins. As an IT admin, you can use Active Directory to control access to your apps and your app resources based on your business requirement. For example, you can use Azure Active Directory to require multi-factor authentication when accessing important organizational resources. Additionally, you can use Azure Active Directory to automate user provisioning between your existing Windows Server Active Directory and your cloud apps, including Office 365. App developers. As an app developer, you can use Azure Active Directory as a standards-based approach for adding single sign-on to your app, allowing it to work with a user pre-existing credentials. Azure Active Directory also provides APIs that can help you build personalized app experiences using existing organizational data. As a subscriber, you are already using Azure Active Directory. Each Microsoft 365, Office 365, Azure, and Dynamics CRM online tenant is automatically an Azure Active Directory tenant. You can immediately start to manage access to your integrated cloud apps. What are the Azure Active Directory licenses? There are 4 Active Directory licenses. Azure Active Directory Free, Azure Active Directory Premium P1, Azure Active Directory Premium P2, pay-as-you-go feature licenses. Let's talk about Azure Active Directory Free. Provides user and group management, on-premises directory synchronization, basic reports, self-service password change for cloud users, and single sign-on across Azure, Office 365, and many popular SaaS apps. Azure Active Directory Premium P1. In addition to free features, P1 also lets you hybrid users access both on-premises and cloud resources. It also supports advanced administrations such as dynamic groups, self-service group management, Microsoft Identify Manager, and cloud write-back capabilities, which allows self-service password reset for your on-premise users. Third one, Azure Active Directory Premium P2 license. In addition to the free and P1 features, P2 also offers Azure Active Directory Identity Protection to help provide risk-based conditional access to your apps and critical company data and privileged identity management to help discover, restrict, and monitor administrators and their access to resources. And final one, pay-as-you-go feature licenses. With this, you can also get additional feature licenses such as Azure Active Directory Business to Customer. What is Azure Active Directory architecture? Azure Active Directory enables you to securely manage access to Azure services and resources for your users. With Azure Active Directory, you can create and manage users and groups and enable permissions to allow and deny access to enterprise resources. Azure Active Directory's geographically distributed architecture combines extensive monitoring, automated rerouting, failover, and recovery capabilities, which deliver company-wide availability and performance to customers. These are architectural elements in Azure Active Directory: service architecture design, scalability, continuous availability, data durability. Create a new tenant in Azure Active Directory. So we will log into Azure portal. I will show you how to create a new tenant. Once we create the tenant, and how do we create users and groups within the organization. You can do all of your administrative tasks using the Azure Active Directory. Azure Active Directory portal, including creating a new tenant for your organization. Azure multi-factor authentication for your organization. So once we create users groups, so I will show you how to enable multi-factor authentication sign-in for the users. There are multiple ways to enable Azure multi-factor authentication for your Azure Active Directory users based on the licenses that your organization owns. So based on Azure studies, your account is more than 99.9% less likely to be compromised if you use multi-factor authentication. So I'm logging to Azure portal and I'm creating a new organization now. I'm in Azure portal. I'm in the Azure portal now. Once we're in the Azure portal, let's go to home. Let's check the option here, home, and go to search option. Just type Active Directory. So here we can see Azure Active Directory. Let's click on Azure Active Directory. So we are in default directory. Now we want to create a new directory for our organization or for your organization. Let's create a new directory. So select the directory type, Azure Active Directory. Let's go to next, configuration. Now we need to give a name to this directory. So let's say overseas can say Azure Academy. I'm just giving a name, Azure Academy. So this is our organization name, or your organization name, Azure Academy 2020. So initial domain. Let's keep Azure Academy 2020. So this is our domain name, and then make sure this domain is available. Yeah, this domain is available, and country region where we are creating directory, United States. Review. And this is directory type Azure Active Directory, and our organization name Azure Academy 2020. Initial domain name Azure Academy 2020.onmicrosoft.com. And this is the data center location. Let's create this organization. So here you can see the progress, directory creation in progress. This will take a few minutes. Now here we can see directory creation was successful. Click here to navigate your new directory. Let's go to our new directory. So this is our organization. This is how you create a organization. This is how you can set up your organization in Azure Active Directory. So once we create a directory in Azure Active Directory, now I'll show you how to create a user, how to create a group, and how do we assign roles to the user, and how do we enable multi-factor authentication. So here you can see under the settings, manage users, or here you can see create user, guest user, group, enterprise application, app registration. Let's click on user. Now we see options here, create user, invite user. Here we're just creating user. Let's just give a name, Chris. This username is Chris. I'll give 20. Let's say Chris 20, and his full name Chris Green, and first name Chris, last name Green. So when Chris tries to log into Azure portal to access resources in your organization, so he has to use this username Chris20 at Azure Academy 2020.onmicrosoft.com. Let's create this user. So successfully created user. So if you want to see if the user is created successfully, if you want to look at the user details, you can come under settings, manage, click on users. Here you can see that Chris Green, user type member. Now if you want to create a new user, you can click on it, and then let's just create one more user. Let's say Tom. Tom Green, and first name Tom Green. Now we created two users. We can see it. It's two users. Now you can click on the user. Here you can see the authentication methods, and let's check our assign roles. We didn't assign any roles to Chris. If you want to assign a new role to Chris, just click on add assignment. If Chris is an application developer, and then we can click on this role, application developer. These are all built-in roles. If you want to create a custom role, you can do that, but here we're just using the built-in roles. The role is here, application developer can create a application registration independent of the users can register. Okay, let's just give this role to, Chris. So now Chris can create application registrations. Let's go to groups. We didn't have any groups here. I will show you how to create a group, and then how do we add users into the group. Example, if you have multiple departments, if you have a test development team, you have a test team, if you have UAT team, so you can create a different groups, and you can add users into those groups. So here we want to assign a multi-factor authentication to Chris. Just go to authentication methods, and if you want to reset password for Chris, you can do that. Here you can just click on reset. Now if you hit reset password, now we see the new password. Now using this password, user can log into Azure Active Directory. In case if user has any problems, in case if he forget any password, he can still reset it, or even admin can reset the password. This is how we reset the password. Here you can see require register multi-factor authentication. When you enable this, means operation complete. Then user, we need to add a phone number or email. So using those, user can use multi-factor authentication. So let's go back to directory and see how do we create a group. Let's create a group. Here you are in the create option, user gets user group. You can click on group. Now we need to give a group name. Let's give dev. A group name, let's give development, and group description. Development team. So you can assign the owners for this group. So here you can see all the existing users. So if you want to make any user as a owner, you can do that. Here, if we want Chris as a owner for this group, we can add it. And owners can add the other members to the group. Okay, let's create this group. So we just created, assigned Chris as a owner. We can add members also. No members selected. Now we can just add members. We can add Tom to this development team. Now we added Chris and Tom to this development group, and Chris is the owner. If any new member join, so Chris can add the new member. Let's create this group. So this is how you create users. This is how you create a group and assign roles. And this is how you enable multi-factor authentication. And if you want to click the user sign-in activity, here you can see under the settings, monitoring. You can use these sign-ins. You can see where user is logging from, which location user is signing in. Okay, so you can use this one. If you want to delete directory, you can delete it using this option. Here you can see that delete directory. For now, I just keep this one. I just want to give you, just want to let you know guys how to delete a directory. If you want to switch that, if you have multiple directories, you can always switch. So here you can see now groups. We created a group, a development group. Once you click on development group, you can see the members. We see one owner and we have one member. You can click on these members. So here Tom is the member. If you want to add a new member to the group, you can do that using this add members. And if you want to add a new owner, you can use add owner. And then if you want to make Tom as a owner, just click on this. And if you want to remove Chris as a owner for this group, you can remove it. Just click on this, remove. So now we'll talk about how to remove the user from the directory. In case if any employee leaves the organization and you want to delete the user, I'll show you how to do that. Here under the settings, see that manage users, click on users. So here, example, Chris left the organization. Now we want to delete this user. Just click on, or you don't have to click on, just here you can see that. Select this and use this delete user and delete selected user. So now you can see here in the notifications, successfully deleted user, press screen. So this is how you create and manage users and groups and enable permissions to allow and deny access to enterprise resources. If you have any questions, you can comment. Or you can email me. Thank you.